Hi, I'm Jim. Today, we're diving into the cosmos to talk about one of the most ambitious sci fi games in development, Star Citizen. And now, before we get into any real meat of the topic, I would like to say that if you do try the game, use a referral code. Here's mine on screen, or I have a direct link in my video description. I don't care if you use mine, but use someone's. It's free, and it gives you some free stuff in game. It's not a lot, but it's there and you might as well take advantage of it. Now moving on, the question on a lot of people's mind is, should I try this game in 2024? This game has been in development now for over a decade. And according to the dev team, that while they treat the game as a live service, it is very much still an alpha. So is it worth your time? Maybe more importantly, is it worth your money? Well, let's talk about it. Now, all too often, when I read online about Star Citizen, I'm met with two very different personality types about the game in its current state. You unfortunately encounter the shield citizen or the scam citizen. According to the shields, SIG, or Cloud Imperium Gaming, the developer behind Star Citizen, can do no wrong. And they think that every decision the company makes, that they are always somehow playing 4D chess, regardless of how we, the players or backers, feel about those decisions. That if only we would just give the company time for us mere mortals that grasp the grand scope of what the devs are working on, then it would all make sense and we would catch up and see the company's vision. And, according to the scam citizens, everything SIG does is just an illusion of progression. That everything the devs do is just to keep the scam alive and to keep the backers buying more and more spaceship JPEGs that they will never see, never fly, never touch in game. That at its core, Star Citizen is nothing more than a virtual shopping cart masquerading as a video game in development, whose sole purpose is to enrich the life of Chris Roberts and his family. Now, personally, I like to think I fall somewhere between these two personality types. However, it is often difficult to accurately assess one's own bias. So Jim, which is it? Who's right? The scams or the shields? That's a great question. Neither of them, and also both of them. They both at times have valid points, and they both at times go a little too far in their assumptions. The shields are always going to shield and the scammers are always going to hate. It is just unfortunately what it is. But that doesn't mean that they're always wrong. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. It's a varying shade of gray at any given time on who's right about what and who's wrong about what. Even though you can often find me ranting about things, I do consider myself more of an optimist than a pessimist. So with that in mind, let's start off with the pros. Star Citizen offers the potential for an incredibly immersive universe. The graphics are top-notch. It is a beautiful game with stunning detail on planets, stations, and ships. The pure scale of the game is massive, providing one of the only truly open-world space experiences where you can trade, mine, fight, and explore to your heart's content. However, some of those loops aren't nearly as well established as we would like for them to be. One of the coolest aspects of the game is the variety of roles that you can take on. It really can be a dreamer's paradise, whether you're a trader, a miner, bounty hunter, explorer, an industrialist, or pirate, etc. There's going to be something for everyone. Plus, the game does receive regular updates, adding new content and new features. The Persistent Universe, or PU, is designed to be a living, breathing universe. Our actions are intended to have a real impact on the game environment for us and everyone playing. The multiplayer experience is also a highlight and a large draw of the game, as it's intended to be an MMO, supposedly allowing us to interact with thousands of players that are sharing the same universe. Yeah, let's be honest, one of the biggest draws, the ships. The spaceships. SIG has been getting better and better at ship design and concepts. And while I can often be found flying around in a solo fighter, taking on other players in their ships, I absolutely love the idea of multi-crew vehicles. In nearly every space game I've played, it's almost always you alone inside of a ship. Even when that ship is a large capital vehicle, you still pilot the vehicle solo and alone. So instead of feeling like a person within that universe, you often end up just feeling like whatever ship you're flying around at the time. In Star Citizen, you can just be one of many people inside your ship. Some of the largest capital-sized vehicles in the game are advertised to need a crew minimum of around 8 to 20 players to fly and operate the vehicle effectively, depending on which capital you look at. Many of the smaller size multi-crew vehicles require, say, 2 to 6 players to operate all ship functions, and I see this as a great opportunity for engaging and rewarding gameplay in the game's future. But unfortunately, it's not all sunshine and stardust. So let's look at some of the cons, because there are cons. Despite what anyone may tell you about the game being a live game, a live service, I often at times hesitate to call it a game. I typically describe it more as a tech demo. And I don't use that as a pass for the developers. I use that to try to set a sense of expectation for whomever I'm speaking to about Star Citizen. It is far from complete. You will encounter bugs. You will encounter glitches. You will encounter server performance issues. And you will often encounter all of these within a singular play session. The game can be very demanding on your hardware, requiring a high-end PC to run smoothly. Optimizations have just started to be seen in the live game, but it's by no means where it needs to be. And one of the biggest points of contention for a lot of people is SIG's monetization model, which could absolutely be described as questionable at best and predatory at worst. Star Citizens has almost in its entirety been a crowd-funded, not just game, but company, developer, where people buy ships for real money, sometimes at seemingly outrageous prices. Some argue this creates a pay-to-win scenario. Others argue that it's nearly necessary to further support the game's continued development, at least at the scale that we were promised. To expand on the monetization model a bit, as I feel the more you understand it, the less you might fall victim to it. SIG uses a FOMO, fear of missing out approach to ship sales. They will make ships that players don't see sold on the average day available for purchase during special in-game events. And a lot of new players get caught up in that, the idea that I better grab it now while it's available mentality. And I've seen many people regret a purchase or end up regretting the amount that they've spent as a backer as a result of falling victim to that. SIG often also gets accused of pumping out new ship concepts, meaning ships that aren't yet in-game, not directly flyable, when they already have a big backlog of ships that have been promised and are as of yet undelivered. And not just undelivered ships, but ships that are in the game, but were delivered years prior to now and honestly need, if not an overhaul, a complete makeover from where they were at. Now, at least while the game is still in development, they have several ship sales a year. There is no need to feel any pressure to upgrade your current ship or purchase any additional ships. They will almost always certainly be available again at some point in the future. They may not be the same price. Yes, they do increase the price of ships from time to time, but that shouldn't be something you think about. Just get the base ship you want, find a group to play with, and you'll be able to earn enough money in-game to purchase a new ship when you want it with in-game credit. Sure, it'll be a bit of a grind, especially when you first start out, but I just want to stress the point that you don't have to use any ship other than a starter ship to play the game. And more importantly, you don't have to use anything other than a starter ship to enjoy the game. There are plenty of active player-ran organizations that are going to jump at the chance to show you around in-game and let you fly their ships with them. People with larger ships are almost always looking for someone that wants to crew the vehicle with them, and they will be more than happy to profit share with you. Right now, you can play this game and get out spending $45 plus whatever local taxes. Anyone that tells you you need to or have to spend more than that is being dishonest with you. There are 2 starter ships that I would look at as a new player, the Aurora and the Titan. Now, with any advice, there are always exceptions. However, for 90-95% of the new player base, these 2 ships are the best 2 charter ships in game, with the more expensive of the 2 obviously being the quote-unquote better ship. And by better, I just mean more versatile. It can do more than the Aurora can. But even with the Titan being better, I would still recommend starting with the Aurora, as there is a in-store mechanic that allows you to pay the difference between the Aurora and upgrade later to the Titan should you choose. But that's a little bit beyond the scope of this video. If you want me to make a video discussing specific ships, recommendations, or the melting and upgrading process, just tell me in the comments and I'll get to work on it, as it's enough of a topic to merit its own video. Whatever ship you start with, just ensure that it comes with a Game Pass. Most of the packaged ships will have one in it, but just ensure the ship you're buying has that available, as if it doesn't, you won't be able to play the game without a ship that has a Game Pass. So back to our main question. Should you try Star Citizen in 2024? Well, the answer is maybe. I have a few other questions that you really need to ask yourself in order to come to a true answer on if it's right for you or not. And those questions are: 1, how tolerant are you to game-breaking bugs, glitches, and lackluster server performance? If you play the game, you will encounter these. They will happen. And while every year the game seems to be, for the most part, in a better place than it was in previous years, you're going to encounter problems that you have to find a workaround to get past. And if you aren't open to that, then I would recommend that you just keep following the development, or me, and I'll be happy to keep you updated. Now, secondly, if you want to see what the game has to offer to you, and largely in some aspects envision what you will ultimately be able to do in game, as not every aspect of the game has been implemented. If you consider yourself more of a dreamer, of someone that can see past current flaws and maybe start to see into the realm of what this game will have to offer you in the future, Star Citizen has at times frustrated me with its lack of progress, and mainly over the previous 2 years, I found myself mulling over the lackluster amount of visual progression that we've got. But I do need to give SIG a few kudo points for their progress this year. We've seen more progress over the first half of this year in 2024 than arguably we saw over the previous 2 combined. And we still have one of the biggest updates coming, supposedly at the end of this year with 4.0 and the addition of the second in-game system of Pyro. It is what can only be described at this moment an exciting time to either be a player in Star Citizen or a follower of its development. The game remains one of the most ambitious games out there, but its journey is far from over, and your adventure in the cosmos could just be beginning. So to quickly recap, if you're someone that wants to follow along in the development of a game, that wants to get in kind of early and see how things progress as we go, it's probably a pretty good time to do that. However, I will stress again, if you're not mentally resistant to game-breaking bugs and glitches, I would shy away from it and give it a bit more time to develop. But again, if you are going to try it, use my referral code, grab a friend's, use someone's. Don't just sign up without using one. Here's mine on screen, or again, there is a link in the video description. If you enjoyed the video, throw me a like, and if you enjoy the style and type of content, consider subscribing. I truly value your subscriptions and feedback in my comments. I do read every comment that's left here. But as always, until next time, I'll see you in the verse.